Today on the channel, we're going to take a look at Marshall's biggest sleeper amp of all time, the Marshall 3203 Artist. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at my Marshall 3203 Artist, which I have right here behind me, and many of you probably have never heard of or seen this amplifier, which is understandable. This, in my opinion, is probably Marshall's biggest sleeper amp of all time. I've had this amplifier since I was 19 years old, okay? And I'm in like my early to mid 50s, okay? I know I look 25, but you know, I'm getting up there in age. I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth, as they say. But this amp is 30 watts. It's got a pair of EL34s and a 12AX7 tube in it. It does have a solid state pre-section, but it's all tube after that. So a lot of people, you know, probably were scared at first, like, what's this solid state technology? But it's not like, you know, your typical solid state Marshalls, the MGs and that sort of thing that came out many years later. This is a EL34 tube equipped amplifier, and it is so cool. 30 watts, it's perfect for gigs, it's perfect for recording. I have had this thing, like I said, since I was 19. If you want to skip forward a little bit past my little story, you can, but I got to tell you the story. I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college, and I had an opportunity to go see Motley Crue. Dr. Feelgood was, the tour was coming through town, right? And I just got a tax refund check of $212. True story. And I thought I was rich, man. $212 in like 1989 was a lot of money for me, right? Heck, that's quite a bit of money today, right? But anyway, I saw this dude in this store called McNeil Music. It was in Binghamton, New York. I went to a university for music in Binghamton and in upstate New York. And I was at this music store, and this metal dude was in there, and we got to talking, and he said, man, I got a Marshall for sale, because I wanted a Marshall, I just couldn't afford one. So I drove to his house, and he lived with about 4 or 5 dudes. They were in a metal band, a thrash band, kind of like, sort of like, you know, Metallica, early days, or Anthrax. I think their name was Arcane, something like that. But anyway, Arcane Faith, perhaps. But these were dudes just drinking beer, hanging out in the house, and I thought they were the coolest in the world, because here I was, this nerdy college kid trying to be a rocker, and these guys I felt were really out there doing it. But nonetheless, I gave this guy, I think, $225 for this amplifier when I was 19, and I thought, you know, Mick Mars would have done that. Rather than go to Motley Crue, I bought the amp. I was gonna, like, should I buy tickets for Motley Crue? But then I won't have enough money to buy this amp, or should I buy the amp? And I was like, what would Mick do? So I bought the amp, and to this day I still own it, and it holds a lot of sentimental value to me because I was 19 and this was my first Marshall, and it still works. One nice thing about this thing having the setup that it has, these EL34s don't burn really hot and they last forever. I've never touched this amplifier with, it's never been maintained ever. This thing has been it's in so many states. It has traveled around with me. It has been tossed around. This thing refuses to die, and it still sounds great. Other than some scratchy pots, it probably needs to be cleaned up a little bit on the inside, you know, as far as pots. There's nothing wrong with this, but to my knowledge, it did it back in the late 80s. But we're going to check it out. So we're going to get some close-ups of this amplifier, and I'm going to put a couple microphones in front of it, run it through Pro Tools, and let you hear what this baby sounds like, okay? So let's take a closer look at it. Okay, so obviously this is a close-up of the front panel, and we've got our power, our standby mode, which is typical for all tube amplifiers and Marshalls, right? I like the fact that the gold aluminum is on the bottom. When you get to the MG series and some of the solid state amps, you'll notice that the gold is up here, and it looks like a regular Marshall should. This is the way they should appear, and I like that appearance. I'm an appearance guy, okay? So that's important to me. But on the front panel, we've got the Artist 3203 label here. Okay, and I used to go by a stage name, Rat Bastard. I've put out several instrumental albums throughout my life, and my original name for my project was called Rat Bastard. A long story, but I remember the band when I was 19 when they sold me this amp. They had a sticker with their band name on the front of it. So I was like, well, that's what you do. You put your name on the front of your Marshalls. So we've got reverb and your master volume right here. Now the reverb, I believe, works. It works okay. You may need a foot switch to engage the reverb, but it's got reverb. I never, ever use my reverb on my amps. I just never do. So this doesn't matter to me whether it works or not. I could care less. So your master volume is right here. Now this got a clean side. If you want to consider it clean, it's not really the cleanest in the world, but the clean is here. You've got treble, middle, and bass. Your basic EQ settings, nothing, not rocket science here, okay? But this is all you need. And then your clean volume, so your main volume and your master volume is right here. Got a foot switch. Now I never did get a foot switch with this, but I used to own a Marshall Origin 20, and I kept the foot switch for the Marshall Origin. So any foot switch will work in this. My Marshall Origin switch works just fine. And then this side, interesting enough, is the gain side, the boost side. So this side sounds kind of like AC/DC when it's cranked out and you got the EQ set just right. And this is for like your lead tones and your thrash metal. This is like your ultimate holy grail Marshall sound, in my opinion. This is like a hot rodded Marshall tone. This is so bad ass wicked. I hope the recording I'm about to do will do it justice. But all it's got is a tone, a volume, and your gain. And when this channel's engaged, this red light will come on. So when you can stick a 1/4 inch, like a foot switch cable in here, and this will automatically turn on. If you don't have a foot switch, you can engage or disengage this thing with just a little adapter or something. You plug it in, but I've got a foot switch that works. And then your input, okay? So it's real basic, bare bones Marshall setup, clean, and then your gain. Kind of like the Jubilees. The Jubilees had a setting on the side that was like this for your extra boost, and it had a push-pull, but there are no pots or anything you can pull out. There are no pots that you can pull out, so it's just straight up, turn the dial to the right and crank it all you want. Let's take a look at the back of the amplifier, and I'll show you what the back side looks like. Okay, so here's the back side of the amp. It's labeled Artist 30 Marshall. It's made in England, so Bletchley, England. So check this out. This was a British English-made amplifier, so it's a, quote, real Marshall. We've got an effects loop, send and return. The effects loop still works just fine. It's got a line out. You can actually record out with this thing, and it doesn't sound the best. I used to record into a 4-track cassette recorder many, many years ago, and it works. But, not ideal. It's not anything that you would really want to do by today's standards. And then you've got two 30-watt outputs here on the back. And then you can select 8 ohms or 4. I've got it set at 4 ohms. I'm going through my Friedman BE 100 4x12. Okay, and then you've got your fuse here in the back. And I don't know if you can really see in the back here, but there's your EL34s right there. There's a pair of them, and then there's your 12AX7 buried in there. Of course, your transformer and all that good stuff. I've never once opened this amplifier up. This thing is stock. Unless those dudes I bought it from did something to it, which I highly doubt, this thing is just like it came from in England, and it still sounds and plays awesome. And I plugged it in before this video started just to make sure it works. And tried and true, it fired up and sounds like a fire-breathing dragon. So let's conjure the dragon, man, and get this baby going. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's start with the channel A. I guess you'd consider it the clean side, but it's really not the clean side. It's crunchy kind of clean. It'll clean up if you turn it down lower. I've got it maxed out pretty high on the main volume's on 10, but I've got the master on about 3. And this amp is loud, okay? I'm going to tell you it's really loud in this room, so I'm not going to talk during this demo because it'll go through my mic here, and I'm running through Pro Tools. So I'm going to go through this channel A with this EQ, and then I'm going to switch it over to the high gain boost channel so you can see what that sounds like. I've kind of got this thing dialed in the way that I like it. The levels may be different going from channel to channel just because I haven't balanced it out exactly the way that it should be if you're playing a gig, but then I'll go through some EQ settings on this channel and give you an idea of what some of the other tonal capabilities are of this amplifier, which is pretty limited, but what it does really good. Okay, so let's start with channel A, and let's begin. Here we go. All right, so there you have it, the Marshall 3203 Artist Series amplifier. I failed to mention they actually made a 4203 version of this, which is a combo amplifier. I've never once seen one of those, you know, out in the wild ever, but they do exist. They're online. These things go for a little bit more money than they used to. You used to be able to pick them up for like $300, $400, $500. I think there's some on eBay right now that are between $600 and $800, maybe a little more, but might be a good idea for you to pick one up if this is something that you're looking for in your budget and you want a English-made Marshall with EL34s that's got this kind of tone. This is a great little amplifier. It's 30 watts. As you can see, it's a little smaller than a normal size head. It's significantly lighter. It's still not super light, but it's a lot lighter and easier to carry to gigs, and it gets the job done. So anyway, hope you like this kind of content. If you do, please consider subscribing, comment below, and as always, have a great day. Peace out.